Well, good afternoon. Good Monday afternoon, friends. Mark Holmes here. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Man, it is hot as hell. It is floating around 100 to 102 degrees today. You know, I complained about how much rain and how cool it was. You know, you got to stop complaining about things because, you know, as bad as it may seem, it could always get a lot worse. So now it is really hot and I got a lot of work I need to do outside. And so it's just what it's going to be. But I was sitting here thinking, this is the dead zone. Okay, we've got 4 more weeks of dead zone, and then all hell is going to break loose. I can't wait because I hate it when there's no real news that's going on. And there's not much. I mean, we had the whole Fanatics thing over the weekend, which was really interesting seeing Kevin Durant traded to the Houston Rockets and him hanging out, of course, with Micah Parsons and literally trying to stir some shit up with basically saying that Micah Parsons is going to go to the Commanders. I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't think that's going to happen. The Cowboys, you know, they're bleeding this thing for the drama that they always have, you know, putting the seeds of doubt out there that maybe, just maybe, he's not going to be a Cowboy. I can guarantee you this much. Even if they don't get Micah Parsons' deal done for the season, Micah will be playing this season. And worst case, they would franchise tag him next year. So technically, they really don't have to do anything. I mean, they've got cash that they can use on other players and things. Micah Parsons wouldn't be happy, I will say that much, and they could definitely sour the milk if they didn't get it done. But I feel like they will get it done. And the reason that I believe they'll get it done is because what it will enable you to do. You get his deal done, you got about another $10, $12 million that's going to roll over into next year that you can use for keeping some of your guys like Deron Bland or even Tyler Smith. And we know we got to go ahead and hold on to him. And it'll also enable you to do basically what you did this year, was you signed Ceedee Lamb and you signed Dak, and you ended up hitting the triggers on their contracts to get yourself more cap space. So there is an illusion that, you know, you're going to be in cap hell. Well, technically you really aren't, because every year the New Orleans Saints start over at like $75 million in the red, yet it hasn't prohibited them from making moves. Now, I won't say that all the moves have been great. You know, they brought in guys like Derek Carr that definitely didn't pan out for them and things, but it didn't enable them financially not to be able to make moves. And the Cowboys are in that position because of what they did last year. But that's actually not what I really wanted to talk about. What I really wanted to talk about was the maturation of Ceedee Lamb over the last couple of years. You know, we all remember when Ceedee Lamb was drafted, you know, he was, you know, there waiting for the call, had his girlfriend grabbing his phone. He kind of took it away from her and things. And Ceedee Lamb, after the meltdown against the Green Bay Packers, and we're going to call it a meltdown, say what you will about my quarterback and things, nobody plays well for the Cowboys in the playoffs. We just don't. Sadly, I don't know what it has been, but it's the truth. We just don't seem to get it going. All facets of it. Running the football, stopping the run, you know, scoring points, the whole kit and caboodle. Excuse me. Sorry. But Ceedee Lamb, when we had that game against Green Bay, had 2 passes right there in his hands, and he dropped them both. And for whatever reason, we still don't know to this day what was going on. It was like he was checked out, you know, or that those 2 drops got into his head and just messed up his psyche. You'll remember, you know, Dak Prescott's is over there talking to him and like, yo, what's going on? What's going on? And you got Mike McCarthy talking to him on the sideline, trying to get his head into the game. And he never really seemed to get into the game. And you may even remember his mama said, my mama said that she wanted his ass out of Dallas and kind of threw Dak Prescott under the bus, wanted to see him go to the Texans, with C.J. Stroud and everything else. But what you saw after that loss, that offseason where we had D-Law talking about being tired, and I have to say, seeing D-Law in Seattle Seahawk gear just looked crazy. I'm sorry. That just looked crazy. And I think that it was actually time for D-Law to get a fresh start. I just think it was. The dynamic between him and Micah Parsons just didn't seem to ever really work together, and they just never seemed to get along. But you'll remember Ceedee Lamb with Micah Parsons on his podcast. And, he's there, he's eating, looks like some steak bites or something like that. I don't know exactly what it was. But he was eating and he was talking and he was saying that he had some maturing and growing up to do. And that was the truth. And it seems like since that time, since he's gotten his contract, that he has done exactly that. Now, I want you to think about this for a second here. This is insane that he's only 36 catches away from passing Dez Bryant on the Cowboys' all-time catch list. Does it seem like Dez Bryant played for so much longer than what Ceedee Lamb did? Yet here it is, Ceedee Lamb, a guy who has been getting over 1,100 yards a season. He has been freaking insane without necessarily having great talent around him. It goes to the greatness of what he is. So during this Fanatics event, he at first, you might remember, at first, he didn't want the number 88. That was the Cowboys that were anointing him as one of the great in the lineage of the 88s that started out, technically not starting out with Drew Pearson. Drew Pearson will admit that somebody else had 88 the year before, but he said he wanted it. But between, hold on. Sorry about that. I had take a phone call here. Uh-oh. You got some traffic. No. Something you hate to see on Interstate 81 is a slowdown. Anyway, he originally didn't want the number 88. He didn't understand the lineage, really, of the 88, from Drew Pearson to Michael Irvin to, who was it? Was it Kelvin Bryant? Who got the 88 but didn't live up to it. Of course, then Dez Bryant got it, and Dez Bryant was fantastic. And then, of course, now Ceedee Lamb. But talking at the Fanatics and things, he recognizes the significance and the history of that number and wants to make sure that he does that number proud. And I will say that is growth and maturity that you love to see from a player. You see that he is becoming a guy that people can look up to as far as a leadership quality. And that's one of the things that the Dallas Cowboys have seemingly wanted to do, is to install guys that are solid citizens, that are great leaders, and are guys that you want to aspire to be like. And he has truly taken it on. See, on the flip side, where, and this goes to the whole thing that the Cowboys are trying to do now too, is to incorporate so many of those great players. And see, this is where you get those older guys and stuff. You may not want to listen to them, but there's a wealth of knowledge and experience and things that you can learn. Charles Haley has always been one of those guys that have been there. And, you know, this is a guy who has got 5 rings and was part of winning traditions with the Cowboys, and a guy that you want to listen to. When you had a guy like Taco Charlton, instead of listening and instead of being insulted by somebody criticizing what they're doing, instead of looking and saying, maybe this guy can teach me something, he instead basically is like, screw this old man. Who's this old guy and why would I listen to him? You should listen to him because he's right. And that's the difference of a Ceedee Lamb, who is on a Hall of Fame style career. Make no mistake about it. He will, if he stays healthy, will get all of the Dallas Cowboys all-time receiving records. And we're talking about Jason Witten, who has it way out there right now. But he's moving up the chain rather quickly. And now that he's actually got a Robin to go with him, actually, should we say, he's got another Batman to go with him, you're going to be able to see him really be able to make some more hay, and his life is going to get a lot easier. And I hope to see more players that have growth like him, because ultimately that's what we're going to need if we're going to get to where we want to be. Alrighty, good people, as always, I appreciate y'all, and don't forget, 9 o'clock Eastern, we'll be doing our live stream, talking about, I don't know, there's nothing crazy. I mean, you got Tyler Booker pushing the kid in the ground to make sure that he was going to win. There was that. You got Micah to the Commanders. There's that. And let's see, Diggs saying we're going to win the Super Bowl. Other than that, ain't shit going on. Alrighty, people. Appreciate you. Peace out.